Alright, it's time for more craft kits. So this one is a little weird. So as you can probably tell from the sticky, I found this at Ollie's. It was like $7. Actually, I need to go back to Ollie's because Ollie's has a weirdly good array of random craft kits. Unfortunately, though, their stickers just do not like to come off, which makes it really hard to give gifts from there. But, alright, I'm going to explain this. I am not here to tell you if a coloring book works. It's a coloring book. I'm also not here to tell you if random markers that come with the coloring book work. Random markers and gel pens. I'm not here to tell you if a coloring book works as a coloring book or if random things that come with it to color with function. I'm here to tell you if they function together. And by that I mean, I'm here to tell you if the paper for said coloring book is actually able to hold up to the materials which they provided to color with. Conveniently, they were smart and made it so the coloring book was held on by this little flappy thing which you can just cut off. So that you don't have to carry around this whole big bulky thing with the weird plastic in the middle. But we're here to find out if the paper that comes with this coloring book actually holds up, because it's not the thinnest paper in the world, but it's also not very thick. And I'm not sure if this is, because it's a cute coloring book, right? So it could be for adults or children, and some of the more detailed designs lend themselves more to adults or teens. And then you have more simple designs that could be either. Some of these, though, are less cute and slightly more horrifying. This one's just clouds. This one is legitimately just the same art of the same character repeated across the entire page. I'm also kind of looking to see if there's duplicates of things in here. Like how many duplicates of the same art are within this coloring book. Because it's looking like some of these characters are getting repeated and copy and paste. So, repeating the character is one thing. Repeating the exact same image of the character is a completely different thing. So, like, even within, like, this page right here, that and that is clearly the exact same art. And so is, like, that, and this down here that you can't see is the same art. This and this are the same art. And I understand that this camera does not show you all of the entirety of the page. But, you know, we work with what we have, and this is what we have. But so far, it's looking mostly like they repeat the same character on the same page. Like, well, this one, that is literally the same character, but across the entirety of the thing. Honestly, I'm probably going to end up doing one of those where, because I'm not going to do the whole freaking coloring book. So I'm probably going to pick a simpler one to color, and I'm probably only going to color a part of it. Because the goal is to see if it bleeds through to the other side, essentially. Or I might just do one of these littler ones where the design's only in the middle and there's nothing else there. Yeah. This page is all cats of various expressions. But again, this kind of looks like they used, like, 3 main cats, and then they just kind of put different faces on them. Alright. So, I'm going to choose this one. And the thing that we're testing, like I said, is if the materials that they provide actually don't bleed through the paper. Because that is the main problem that I find with these, like, kits. If it's not just the coloring book with crayons or with colored pencils, if it includes markers, they almost always bleed through the page. Also, it should be noted, they included the strangest array of colors. Like, you have baby pink and baby blue. And then green, yellow, orange, and purple. What? Alright. Actually, I might not even bother doing a full coloring thing for this. Because, like I said, we're mostly testing to see if it bleeds through to the other side. I do, however, have to make sure that wherever I'm testing is in a location in which you can actually see on the camera. So that's fun. I do have concerns because this looks less like a marker and more like it's just going to be a highlighter. Oh yeah, no, that's just a highlighter. So it claims that it comes with markers, but this is definitely a highlighter material. Also, there will be no subtlety in anything that you draw with these. Supposedly, they're also scented. This one's vaguely berry-y. Like strawberry adjacent. Strawberry bubblegum. Like when you get that bubblegum that's flavored like strawberry. That's that. That's the scent. I am expecting these to be not as strong a scent as they may have been previously, because 1, I've had it sitting in my office for a while, and 2, I got it from Ollie's, and if you know Ollie's, they're a discount store. They sell overstock, so you kind of expect whatever they have there to have been there for an extended period of time, probably. Because, well, it's an overstock store. So the fact that I have any scent at all tells me that they probably were much more scented originally, if I had to guess. But there will be absolutely no subtlety whatsoever in anything that you're coloring if you were sticking only to the colors that they provide you. Because these are very bright and very neon colors, as you expect if you're using gel pens. So there's that to consider. I am going to try to do at least a little bit of each one. This one smells like cotton candy. But the tip of this one is a little concerning. I don't know if I can get this camera to focus on the tip. Okay. The tip of this one is covered in a bunch of little black speckles. You can kind of see it like this. I need a better art cam really bad. But anyway. Yeah, so the blue one is cotton candy adjacent. Which, that's new, because most people make cotton candy scented things pink. So I was not expecting cotton candy. These markers actually don't bleed much, but again, that's probably because they're highlighters. I keep referring to them as markers, but these are definitely highlighters. They just have marker tips on them. But here, let's just go ahead and prove that these are in fact highlighters. I'm just going to right munchy up there. We're going to let that dry for a few minutes while I color something else. I am going to use each of these colors at least once in this little tiny section of that I color. Honestly, it's weird to me that they included gel pens, because I don't typically think of using gel pens much for coloring. Like, if I'm using gel pens, it's typically a design that I made specifically for using the gel pens. Because gel pens have such a narrow tip that it's hard to get large amounts of coverage in if you're not used to using them, you know what I mean? These ones, however, are pretty dang juicy. And they do actually, they do actually cover well. But again, it's a gel pen. Why are you using gel pens in a coloring book? Also, the pens have about as much scent as you expect any, quote, scented, unquote, gel pen to have. Which is to say there is none. Unless it's in the ink itself that you've laid down, which, obviously, I'm not going to stick my head down there right now and be like... So we'll get to that at the end. To see. Actually, I should probably do it between. That way I'm not mixing all the scents too much. Nope. Anytime I've had a, quote, scented, unquote, gel pen, there's never actually any scent. So that's about expected. But see, to me, the problem is, right, gel pens almost always are so opaque, or at least if they're decent quality gel pens, they're usually so opaque that they're going to cover up the black lines of the coloring book. So why are you using gel pens in a coloring book? Because they're going to cover up the lines of the coloring book if you even go over them a little bit. And I can just go ahead and show that here. Look. Boom. Oh, look. The line's gone. Oh, look. The line's gone. And yeah, you can see it still-ish. But you can avoid that by simply including colored pencils instead of gel pens. And I would think colored pencils are usually cheaper. Of course, maybe the problem is if you include colored pencils, you are kind of expected to include a pencil sharpener, but even you can get cheap heckin' pencil sharpeners. You can buy little, like, packs of pencil sharpeners that are 2 or 3 pencil sharpeners for $1 at the dollar store. Okay, you might not be able to do that anymore, but you used to be able to do that. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't shopped for art supplies at the dollar store in a while because most dollar stores mostly include all of the really basic art supplies like your colored pencils and your crayons and stuff. And those are all things that I have in large amounts. I don't need more of those. But it's like, just checking the scents again. There's no scent. There's no scent. There's none. None scent. Here's proof that this is a highlighter, by the way. Oh no, the ink ran a little bit because it's a cheap marker, but still, it's a highlighter. Yeah. And that's also kind of why I wanted to do this. I was fairly certain they were a highlighter, and I was hoping they would surprise me. They did not. My other problem, though, is with a highlighter and gel pens, you can do literally absolutely no blending. I mean, if you really want to struggle and fight, you might be able to get a tiny bit of blending out of the highlighters. Except they included two very opposite colors. And what are you going to do with the blending with that anyway? So, like... yeah. Again, I'm not here to tell you if the product itself works as intended. I'm here to tell you if the products included work with each other and if it's worth getting. Now, so far, these gel pens are actually a pretty dang good quality gel pen. The highlighters are average, but the gel pens actually are doing a pretty good job. In fact, you can ironically tell that the gel pens are pretty good because of how well they covered up these black lines that, you could have avoided by not including gel pens in a coloring book. But, you know, what do I know? I just do art as a thing that I've been doing my whole life. Anyway, it is kind of a shame that it didn't include more than just the 4 gel pens, because honestly, I would have rather they included more gel pens than those 2 stupid highlighters. Like, give me 4 more gel pens instead of those stupid highlighters. That way I have a better color variety to choose from. Honestly, that would have been easier. That would have been better for everyone involved. Because the other problem with gel pens that you have to consider when doing a coloring book is that they take ages to dry. Especially if they're as, like... So quality gel pens will usually take ages to dry because they're actually putting down a decent amount of ink while you're using them. Which means as you're using them, you have to sit for a minute so that they can do their job. That's all I'm going to color, because like I said, I only wanted to make sure that I got a little bit of each color. It didn't bleed through to the next page, but as you can see, and as I expected to happen, the highlighter did bleed through to the back of this, but it doesn't look like it bled through to the next page. I, however, was incredibly light-handed because I knew that it was going to bleed through. So if you were buying this for a child, and they were using these highlighters, I can assume it would probably bleed through. And in fact, I can go ahead and test that on... I'm going to use this page because this is the last page, and so if I use this page, it's not going to ruin another page. It'll just go into this cardboard. Rude! Alright, I guess I'm using the pink then. Because that one is on the floor forever. I'm just going to color this tiny little section in the corner. You won't be able to see it because my camera angle sucks. And I'm just going to go ham. Like you might if you were a child. And immediately, this paper is ripping up. You can see it pulled some paper off. And you can see it bled through. So, to me, this coloring book would be really very good. Ow! That was dumb. I hurted myself and gave myself a paper cut. Only a little one, though. This would be better if it included colored pencils instead of trying to make itself better with the scented in high quotes highlighters and definitely not scented pens that it claims that it has on the thing. And as you can see a little, I don't know if I can get that on camera. Yeah, like I said, gel pens you have to let dry all the way because you can see that tiny little speck of orange there. And there's also a couple little specks of yellow from me just having put this lightly like this so that I could do this back page. And you can see I didn't put any pressure on that. And when I was having it, it was set up like this. So there was no pressure on the page itself. And it still transferred. So, that is my main problem with people who keep insisting on trying to include gel pens with coloring books. Because you have to let gel pens dry. They need time to dry in order for them to stay. So I, in fact, am going to put this over here on the floor so that it can dry before I close the book again. So, I guess the main question with this is it worth the money? I don't know how much it was new before it reached Ollie's. But typically things like in that realm are right around the $12-ish mark. How about I just, let's see. Is there a number on here? No. It says estimated price $11. So I wasn't that far off. Yeah. Is it worth $11? Absolutely not. If you find it at Ollie's for only $7, maybe the coloring book is cute, but you can probably find similar coloring books for like $3 or $4. But like to have the coloring book and the gel pens and 2 highlighters, not markers, highlighters. It's not a bad price. It's also not great. It probably equals itself out pretty well. So the price with everything together probably ends up being right around $7. So if you find it for that price, it's not bad. It's just also not good. So I guess it depends entirely on if you like the coloring pages in that coloring book over any of the other probably cheaper coloring books that you can certainly find at Ollie's right next to that book. Yeah. Anyway, that's all. That's it. Toodaloo.